At 5 tonight, we are continuing our coverage of the latest new developments in Mamta Bhatt's disappearance, as her husband is now charged with murder. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Scott Thuman.
And I'm Michelle Marsh. Naresh Bhatt will now have to wait another night to actually face new charges. We were expecting him in court today, but the hearing ended almost as soon as it began.
7 News reporter Rebecca Turco is joining us live outside the Prince William County Courthouse tonight. And Rebecca, this is a big development. Delayed because there was no interpreter available?
Yeah, and now it's actually been pushed to tomorrow morning, and that's because we know an interpreter will be available then. An interpreter for sure is going to be available because that's when the pretrial hearing on his original charge had previously been scheduled for, on the concealing a dead body charge. Remember, he's still facing that charge on top of the new murder and physically defiling a body charges that he's now set to be served with tomorrow. And that's also when the trial dates for those new charges will be determined. And the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office tells me it is possible these charges could all be consolidated into one trial. We sure learn more about that tomorrow in court. And it was top brass in front of the judge today. The chief public defender spoke on Naresh's behalf instead of her senior assistant, who had been at the other hearings. And the Commonwealth's attorney was here too instead of her staff. Just yesterday, the police chief announced blood found in the couple's home matched Mamta's DNA. That's something that had only been heavily implied before, as police and prosecutors waited for the official results to come back. The elevated murder charge is something Mamta supporters had been hoping for, but it's still a lot for them to take in.
There's a huge degree of sadness to know that the grand jury did see that there's probable cause to levy these additional charges, and what was presented to the grand jury was enough to say, yeah, he deserves to stand trial for doing some horrific things to our beloved Mamta.
So now Naresh is due back in court tomorrow morning at 9 on these new charges. And as it stands, the pretrial hearing on his original charge is still set for the very same time. So we're going to see how all of this plays out tomorrow in court with these new charges as well. Scott?
Rebecca, this is far from the first time that a hearing was rescheduled because an interpreter wasn't available. A lot of people are wondering, so you looked into it. What did you find? How does this work?
Well, Naresh, of course, has the right to an interpreter, and the court provides interpreters who are certified by the state Supreme Court. Now, we are working to find out exactly how many of those interpreters speak Nepali. It could very well be a case that the interpreters are too busy with other cases or other obligations, and that's why they couldn't make it. So we're working to figure that out. And of course, Mamta supporters who have been coming out here, a lot of them showing up to every court case, they want answers too as far as scheduling is concerned, because they come out here, some of them have to reschedule work, cancel other obligations, only for the court case to ultimately be canceled for that very same day. Scott?
Yeah. All right, Rebecca Turco, thanks for that continuing reporting.
And 7 News is also speaking with experts about the strategies that we could expect in court as prosecutors present their case to jurors against Naresh Bhatt.
7 News reporter Nick Minock spoke with a former federal prosecutor in Virginia who says the forensic evidence in this case will be critical.
Do you think there's going to be any challenges in this case, considering the fact that prosecutors, investigators, police have not found the body of Mamta Bhatt yet?
There's always a challenge whenever the body is missing in a murder case, but it seems to me that the prosecution in this case has abundant evidence to win their case. There's a lot of forensic evidence that puts Mr. Bhatt in the house, sadly, when she apparently was killed. There's also the forensic evidence of her blood in the house. And there's a timeline that shows the two of them, together and apart. And I'm sure they are meticulously tracking that timeline, plus his statements, which are incriminating and certainly I don't think will be appreciated by the jury. So I think they can win the case.
What do you think the defense team for Naresh Bhatt might do in this case? Do you think they're going to cast doubt, for instance, seeing that there's a missing body?
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be the horse that they're going to ride, that the body is missing. Therefore, we don't even know that she is deceased. I think that's going to be a challenge now that one of the charges is basically dismembering a body. And that, obviously is a horrific thing for a jury to consider if that in fact took place. So it's going to become a challenge, more of a challenge than even the charge of concealing a dead body. I think dismembering a body is a horrific charge. So the Commonwealth is going to be producing evidence that that's what he did. But the defense is going to argue, look, we haven't even found the body. I think that's going to be uphill for them because there's going to be evidence that the body was dismembered and also that he may have disposed of the body. They've got certain video evidence of him going to dumpsters.
You can watch more of our conversation online at WJLA.com. Nick Minock, 7 News.
And ahead at 6 o'clock on 7 News, you'll hear from a forensic scientist, plus a retired senior FBI profiler as we continue our team coverage. And this is an investigation that we've been watching very closely. We have put together an extensive evidence timeline dating back to months before Mamta Kafle disappeared. According to court documents, back in February, police were called to the Bhatt residence, and Mamta said her husband would not give her her documents and destroyed her phone. But no charges were filed. In March and April, search warrants show Naresh made multiple Google searches about what happens if a spouse disappears or dies. And on July 27th, Mamta was seen for the last time on surveillance video outside the Prince William Hospital where she worked. You can find our full timeline and all of the evidence since July 27th on WJLA.com. That also includes the body camera video of Manassas Park Police visiting Naresh Bhatt in early August before he was arrested. To find all of our past reporting, you can also just scan that QR code on your screen. It will take you to our YouTube playlist where you can hear from Mamta's friends, see that full police body camera video, and hear from legal experts and more.